He mocked her during the divorce, then froze when the mafia boss showed up to take her home. The courthouse hallway smelled of old wood and broken promises. Emma Martinez stood with her back straight, hands clutched around a folder containing 5 years of marriage reduced to legal documents. Her simple brown hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail, and her waitress uniform from the morning shift still clung to her frame beneath a worn cardigan. She looked exactly like what she was. A woman who worked 2 jobs to keep a home running while her husband spent money on everything except their future. Sign here, here, and here. The lawyer's voice was clinical, detached. Emma's pen hovered over the first line. 5 years. 5 years of cooking meals that went cold, of birthday cakes eaten alone, of promises that dissolved like sugar in rain. Her hand moved, signing her name with careful precision. Well, well. Look at you, actually going through with it. The voice made her spine stiffen. Marcus strode down the hallway like he owned it, his expensive suit probably worth more than Emma's entire monthly income. On his arm, quite literally draped across him like a luxury accessory, was Vanessa, a 20-year-old blonde whose highlights probably cost more than Emma's rent. Emma didn't look up. She continued signing, each stroke of the pen an act of quiet defiance. I thought you'd beg, Marcus continued, stopping directly in front of her. Thought you'd cry and plead for me to reconsider. That's what women like you do, isn't it? He exchanged a smirk with Vanessa, who giggled behind manicured nails. Women like me? Emma finally raised her eyes. They were calm, steady. You mean women who work 16-hour days? Women who paid your business school tuition while eating ramen for dinner? Women who believed in you when no one else did? Marcus's face reddened slightly, but he recovered quickly. Ancient history. I've evolved. Vanessa here understands what a successful man needs, not some small-town waitress who smells like coffee and desperation. Vanessa laughed louder now, her voice sharp and cruel. Honestly, Marcus, I don't know how you survived. She probably doesn't even know which fork to use at a proper restaurant. She looked Emma up and down with theatrical disgust. Though I suppose she's only seen them from the serving side. Emma signed the final page. The marriage was over. Legally, officially, completely. She felt nothing. Or perhaps she felt everything at once. A numbness that came from finally accepting what she'd known for months. Marcus had checked out of their marriage long before Vanessa arrived. Are you done? Emma asked quietly, gathering her papers. Because I have an evening shift in an hour. Oh, this is precious. Marcus laughed, a sound without warmth. Still hustling for tips. Tell me, Emma, what's your plan now? Grow old serving pancakes? Maybe find another sucker to pay your bills? He leaned closer, his breath sharp with expensive cologne. You were always small time. I just finally admitted it. Emma stood, folder tucked under her arm. She was 4 inches shorter than Marcus, but something in her posture made her seem taller. I'm done here. Goodbye, Marcus. That's it? He blocked her path, genuine confusion crossing his features. No tears? No scene? You're just leaving? That's what divorce means. Emma tried to step around him. Vanessa grabbed Marcus's arm possessively. Let her go, baby. She's probably late for her shift at the diner. Wouldn't want her to lose her precious minimum wage job. She examined her nails with exaggerated boredom. Though, honestly, we should tip her. She basically gifted you to me. Thank you for being so inadequate. The words should have stung. They were designed to destroy. But Emma felt only a strange sense of relief washing over her. This was who Marcus truly was. She just hadn't wanted to see it before. She was free. Excuse me, Emma said firmly, moving toward the courthouse exit. You know what the best part is? Marcus called after her, unable to let her leave with dignity. I'm taking you to Paris next month, he announced to Vanessa loudly, ensuring Emma heard. First class, 5-star hotels. Everything this one could never appreciate. Emma pushed through the heavy wooden doors into the late afternoon sunlight. The autumn air bit at her cheeks, but it felt cleaner than the atmosphere inside. She descended the courthouse steps carefully, her vision blurring slightly, not with tears, but with exhaustion. She'd signed the papers. She'd survived the encounter. Now she just needed to get through her evening shift, return to her empty apartment, and start figuring out what came next. Behind her, she could still hear Marcus and Vanessa laughing, their voices carrying in the quiet street. Emma pulled her cardigan tighter and kept walking. Her car was parked 3 blocks away. She couldn't afford courthouse parking, and her feet ached in her worn sneakers. She didn't notice the black Mercedes sedan that had been idling across the street for the past 20 minutes. Didn't see the driver's window lower slightly as she passed. Didn't catch the way the man in the back seat leaned forward, his dark eyes tracking her movement with sudden, intense focus. Emma was halfway down the block when she heard footsteps behind her. Heavy, purposeful footsteps. She tensed instinctively. It was nearly dark, and this wasn't the best neighborhood. But before she could turn, a voice stopped her cold. Emma Martinez. It wasn't a question. It was a statement, spoken in a voice like smoke and velvet, dangerous and somehow familiar. Emma turned slowly. The man standing 3 feet away wore a black overcoat that probably cost more than Marcus's entire wardrobe. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his jaw shadowed with calculated stubble. But it was his eyes that made Emma's breath catch. Dark, intense, burning with something she couldn't name. She'd seen those eyes before. Emma's mind raced. Where did she know him from? 6 months ago, St. Mary's Hospital, 3 a.m. His voice remained low, controlled. You were finishing a double shift in the cafeteria. I came in bleeding. You didn't call the police. You didn't ask questions. You just helped. The memory crashed back. The man staggering through the emergency entrance, hand pressed against his side, blood seeping between his fingers. Everyone had scattered. The wound looked like a stabbing, maybe worse, and no one wanted to be involved. But Emma had grabbed towels, had helped him to a chair, had stayed until the doctors came. She'd never learned his name. He'd been gone when her shift ended. I remember, Emma whispered. You were hurt. You saved my life. He stepped closer, and Emma noticed for the first time the 2 men flanking him several feet back. Large men, alert men, men whose hands rested inside their jackets in a way that suggested weapons. I don't forget debts. I was just doing what anyone would. No. His interruption was soft but absolute. No one else did. They all walked away. You didn't. His gaze moved past her, toward the courthouse, where Marcus and Vanessa were now descending the steps, still laughing. Bad day? Emma's laugh came out bitter. You could say that. The man's eyes narrowed as he watched Marcus pull Vanessa into an exaggerated kiss, clearly performing for anyone watching. Your ex-husband? As of 10 minutes ago, yes. Something dangerous flickered across the man's face. He hurt you. It wasn't a question. Emma shook her head quickly. Not physically, just, it doesn't matter now. I need to get to work. No, you don't. He pulled out his phone, pressed a single button, spoke without looking away from Emma. Clear her schedule, indefinitely. He ended the call before Emma could protest. Wait, what? I can't just... Emma. The way he said her name made her fall silent. 6 months ago you helped a stranger without asking why. Tonight, let me return the favor. Please. There was something in his tone, not quite a command, but close. Emma should have refused, should have walked away. But she was exhausted, emotionally hollowed out, and something about this man's presence made her feel protected. Dangerous, yes. But protected. I don't even know your name, she said softly. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Most people call me the Mafia boss, but you can call me Dante. The title should have terrified her, should have sent her running. Instead, Emma found herself nodding, found herself allowing Dante to guide her toward the Mercedes with a hand that never quite touched her, but burned nonetheless. As they reached the car, Marcus's voice cut across the street. Emma! Emma! Shock colored his tone. Who the hell is that? Emma paused at the open car door. She looked back once, saw Marcus's face pale as he recognized something she didn't understand, saw Vanessa's smug expression falter. Then Emma slid into the Mercedes, into leather seats that smelled like money and power, and didn't look back again. Dante settled beside her, and the door closed with an expensive thunk. Through the tinted window, Emma watched Marcus standing frozen on the courthouse steps, his mouth open, his new girlfriend suddenly very quiet beside him. "Where are we going?" Emma asked as the car pulled smoothly into traffic. "Somewhere you can breathe," Dante replied. Then, so quietly she almost missed it. "Somewhere safe." Emma didn't know why she trusted him, didn't know why she felt safer in a car with a self-proclaimed mafia boss than she had in 5 years of marriage. But as the courthouse disappeared behind them and Dante's presence settled around her like a shield, she realized something profound. For the first time in years, she felt like she mattered to someone. The restaurant Dante brought her to didn't have a name on the door. Emma noticed that immediately as the Mercedes pulled up to an unmarked brick building in the city's old district. The driver opened her door, and Dante emerged from the other side, buttoning his overcoat against the evening chill. "This way." Dante's hand hovered near the small of Emma's back, never touching, but guiding. The door opened before they reached it, held by a man whose shoulders barely fit through the frame. He nodded at Dante with deep respect, and didn't meet Emma's eyes at all. Inside, the restaurant was warm and intimate. Maybe 15 tables, all draped in white linen. Crystal glasses caught the soft light from Art Deco fixtures. Every table was full, but the moment Dante entered, the maitre d' materialized as if summoned by telepathy. "Sir, your usual table is ready." The man's accent was Italian, his deference absolute. "Thank you, Antonio." Dante finally touched Emma then, just his fingertips against her elbow, steering her past the other diners. Emma felt their eyes tracking her, felt the weight of their curiosity. A few faces showed recognition, not of her, but of him. Their expressions shifted immediately, conversations lowering in volume, postures straightening. Who was this man she'd helped 6 months ago? The corner table overlooked the city through floor-to-ceiling windows. Emma had lived here her entire life but had never seen this view. Dante held her chair, waited until she was seated before taking his own position with his back to the wall, a choice that seemed automatic, strategic. "You don't have to do this," Emma said quietly as Antonio placed leather-bound menus before them. "The car, this restaurant. I'm fine." "Really? You're not fine." Dante's dark eyes studied her with uncomfortable precision. "You're exhausted. You work 2 jobs. Your ex-husband mocked you in front of his mistress. You signed away 5 years of your life this afternoon. So no, Emma, you're not fine." He paused. "But you will be." Something in his certainty made Emma's throat tighten. She looked down at the menu. No prices, she noticed, and forced herself to speak. "Why are you doing this? Because I helped you once? You don't owe me anything. I was just being human." "Exactly." Dante leaned forward slightly. "You were just being human when everyone else forgot how. Do you know how rare that is? Especially in my world." He caught himself. "In this city. Your world." Emma set down the menu. "You called yourself the Mafia boss. Were you serious?" Dante's expression didn't change. "Would it matter if I was?" "I don't know." Emma held his gaze, refusing to look away. "Should it?" For a long moment, Dante simply watched her. Then something shifted in his face. Surprise, maybe, or respect. "Most people would be running by now, or trying to use me. You're doing neither. I'm too tired to run. And I don't know you well enough to use you." Emma accepted the water glass Antonio placed beside her plate. "But I also don't think the man who bled in my arms at 3 in the morning came to that hospital to hurt people. I think he came because someone hurt him." Dante's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "You're perceptive. I'm a waitress. Reading people is survival." Emma took a sip of water. "So what are you really? Some kind of businessman?" "Something like that." Dante's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his face hardening. "Excuse me for one moment." He stood smoothly, walking toward the restaurant's back exit while already lifting the phone to his ear. Emma watched him go, watched how other diners tracked his movement, watched how two men near the bar subtly repositioned themselves to keep Dante in their line of sight. Protection, she realized. Those were his people. "Miss." Antonio appeared beside her table with a bottle of wine Emma definitely hadn't ordered. "From the gentleman. He insisted you try it while he attends to business." The sommelier poured a generous glass of something deep red and undoubtedly expensive. Emma stared at the wine, at the beautiful restaurant, at her reflection in the dark window. This morning she'd woken up married. Tonight she was single, sitting in an exclusive restaurant with a man who commanded rooms without raising his voice. Her life had tilted sideways in the span of 10 hours. First time here? A woman's voice, warm and curious. Emma looked up to find an elegant older woman at the next table smiling at her. "I'm sorry, I don't mean to intrude, but I saw you come in with Mr. Moretti and you look overwhelmed." "Moretti?" Emma repeated. The woman's eyes widened slightly. "Oh, you don't know." She leaned closer conspiratorially. "Dante Moretti. He owns half the city. Not officially, of course, but—" She made a delicate gesture. "His family has been powerful here for 3 generations. People either fear him or seek his favor. There's no middle ground." Emma's pulse quickened. "What kind of power?" "The kind that makes problems disappear." The woman studied Emma with sharp intelligence. "The kind that keeps the city running in ways the politicians never mention. He's dangerous, dear. But he's also fair. If you're under his protection, you're safer than anywhere else in the world. If you're his enemy." She didn't finish the sentence. Emma looked toward the back exit where Dante had disappeared. Through the small window in the door, she could see his silhouette, phone pressed to his ear, his free hand gesturing sharply. Even from here, she could see the tension in his shoulders. "Why are you telling me this?" Emma asked. The woman smiled sadly. "Because you look like a good person. And good people don't usually end up at Dante Moretti's private table unless something extraordinary happened. I'm just hoping you know what you're walking into." Before Emma could respond, Dante returned. His expression was carefully neutral, but something had changed. The woman at the next table immediately fell silent, returning to her meal as if they'd never spoken. "I apologize," Dante said, resuming his seat. "Business doesn't respect dinner hours." "What kind of business?" Emma asked directly. Dante's eyes met hers, and she saw the decision flicker across his face. Tell the truth or maintain the polite fiction? The kind that requires difficult decisions. The kind that keeps certain parts of this city functioning. The kind that made me a lot of enemies. The kind that got you stabbed 6 months ago. Yes. Emma should have been afraid. The logical part of her brain screamed warnings. But the rest of her, the part that had watched Dante defend her without knowing her, the part that felt safer in his presence than she'd felt in years, refused to listen. "I'm not going to judge you," Emma said quietly. "I don't know your life. I don't know what choices led you here, but I also won't pretend to be naive. If you're telling me you're dangerous, I believe you. And yet you're still sitting here." Dante's voice held something she couldn't identify. Wonder, perhaps. "You came to find me today. You could have just considered your debt paid and moved on. But you saw my ex-husband humiliate me, and you offered help. That tells me something about who you are beneath the title." Dante was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was lower, more personal than before. "I was 19 when I took over the family business. My father died in a territorial dispute. Murdered, if we're being honest. I had a choice. Let our family's empire collapse and watch everyone who depended on us suffer, or step into a role I never wanted. I chose the latter. Do you regret it? Every day." The admission seemed to surprise even him. "But regret doesn't change reality. I've done things I can't take back, made decisions that keep me awake at night. Built an empire on fear and respect in equal measure. Most people see the power and forget the prison it creates. Emma reached across the table, not thinking, just moving, and placed her hand over his. Dante stared at the contact like he'd been struck. "I see the prison," Emma said softly. "I was in one too, different walls but still trapped." Dante turned his hand, his fingers closing around hers. His grip was careful, controlled, but Emma felt the strength beneath. "Your ex-husband is a fool. He wanted someone who fit his new life, someone polished and sophisticated. I was never going to be that person." "Good." Dante's thumb traced a slow circle on her palm. "Sophistication is overrated. You know what's rare? Authenticity, kindness, the courage to help a bleeding stranger because it was the right thing to do." His eyes burned into hers. "Don't let anyone make you feel small for being good." Emma's chest tightened. When was the last time someone had looked at her like this? Like she mattered. Like she was worth seeing. "Dante," she whispered, "why did you really come find me today?" He smiled then, a real smile that transformed his entire face. "Because in 6 months, I haven't stopped thinking about the woman who bandaged a monster without flinching. Because when I saw you on those courthouse steps, looking so tired and alone, something in me recognized something in you. We're both survivors, Emma. We've both learned to endure." He leaned closer. "But maybe we don't have to endure alone." The air between them felt charged, electric. Emma knew she should pull her hand back, should establish boundaries, should remember that this man was dangerous by his own admission. But she didn't want to. For the first time in 5 years, she felt seen. "I'm not afraid of you," Emma said. "I should be. But I'm not. I know." Dante's expression shifted, something almost like pain crossing his features. "That's what terrifies me." Before Emma could ask what he meant, the restaurant's front door opened with sudden violence. 3 men entered, their suits expensive but their movements crude, purposeful. The one in front, tall, blonde, radiating barely controlled aggression, scanned the room until his eyes locked on Dante. Every muscle in Dante's body went rigid. His hand tightened on Emma's for just a second before he released her, his face transforming into something cold and lethal. "Stay here," he said quietly. "Don't move." The blonde man approached their table with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Moretti. Didn't expect to see you here. Though I guess you own the place, don't you? You own everything." His gaze slid to Emma, and his smile widened unpleasantly. "New acquisition?" "Victor." Dante stood slowly, buttoning his jacket with deliberate calm. "This isn't the place." "Oh, I think it's the perfect place." Victor's accent was Eastern European, his tone mocking. "Public. Witnesses. You can't just make me disappear like you did my brother." The tension in the restaurant escalated instantly. Conversations died. Other diners shifted uncomfortably. Emma saw Dante's 2 men from the bar moving closer, saw how Victor's companions mirrored the movement. "Your brother made choices," Dante said, his voice deadly quiet. "I gave him options. He chose violence." "You chose for him!" Victor's facade cracked. "You run this city like you're untouchable, but you're not. You bleed like anyone else." "I've seen it." His eyes flicked to Emma again. "Pretty thing. Does she know what you are, what you've done?" Emma stood before she could think better of it. "He's the man who helped me when I needed it. That's what I know." Victor laughed, a harsh sound. "Oh, she's got spirit. I like that. Tell me, sweetheart, how long before he crushes that spirit? Before he—" "Enough." Dante moved between Victor and Emma so fast Emma barely saw it. "You want me? I'm here. Leave her out of this." "Why?" Victor leaned in, his voice dropping. "She must be important if the great Dante Moretti is protecting her. That makes her interesting. That makes her useful." The threat hung in the air like poison. Emma saw something she'd never seen before flicker across Dante's face. Fear. Not for himself. For her. "Walk away, Victor," Dante said softly. This is your only warning. Or what? You'll add me to your body count? Victor stepped back, hands raised in mock surrender. Relax, Moretti. I'm just introducing myself to your new friend. Emma Martinez, right? I do my research. He pulled a card from his pocket, tossed it on the table. When you get tired of playing with monsters, give me a call. I'll show you what a real gentleman looks like. Then he was gone, his men following. The restaurant seemed to exhale collectively. Dante remained standing, his back to Emma, his shoulders tense. Dante? Emma touched his arm carefully. Who was that? A problem. Dante turned, and Emma saw it. The weight he carried, the darkness that lived behind those eyes. Emma, I need to take you home. Now. This. You being with me puts a target on your back. I didn't think. I should have considered. Hey. Emma stepped closer, forcing him to look at her. I'm not some fragile thing that breaks at the first sign of trouble. You warned me you were dangerous. I chose to stay. You don't understand what you're choosing. Then explain it to me. Emma held his gaze. But don't make decisions for me. I've had enough of men doing that to last a lifetime. Dante stared at her for a long moment. Then, incredibly, he smiled. Small, genuine, tinged with wonder. You really aren't afraid, are you? I'm terrified, Emma admitted. But not of you. Of going back to feeling invisible. Of being alone. Of never feeling this alive again. She took a breath. You make me feel alive, Dante. And I don't want to walk away from that just because it's complicated. Complicated doesn't begin to cover it. I know. Emma smiled despite everything. But I want to try anyway. Dante looked at her like she was something precious and fragile and impossibly brave. Then he did something Emma didn't expect. He cupped her face in his hands, careful, reverent, and pressed his forehead to hers. I don't deserve you, he whispered. But I'm selfish enough to want you anyway. Emma's eyes closed. Then be selfish. Just this once. Neither of them noticed Antonio clearing the restaurant, noticed the other diners leaving quietly, noticed the way Dante's men positioned themselves at every exit. All Emma knew was the warmth of Dante's hands, the sound of his breathing, the way her heart raced for reasons that had nothing to do with fear. When they finally left the restaurant an hour later, the city looked different to Emma. Dangerous, yes. Uncertain, absolutely. But also full of possibility. Dante kept her close as they walked to the car, his hand finally resting against her back, warm and steady. Where do you live? He asked as they settled into the Mercedes. Emma gave the address of her small apartment, the one she could barely afford on her waitress salary. Dante didn't react, but she saw his jaw tighten, saw the calculation behind his eyes. That neighborhood isn't safe, he said carefully. Not anymore. Not after Victor saw you with me. I don't have anywhere else to go. Dante was quiet as the car pulled into traffic. Then, I have a property, guest house on my estate. Empty, secure. You could stay there. Temporarily, he added quickly. Just until I handle the Victor situation. That's too much, Emma. He turned to face her fully. In my world, association with me makes you vulnerable. I won't apologize for that because I can't change it, but I also won't leave you unprotected. Please let me do this. Emma studied his face. The genuine concern, the barely controlled fear for her safety. This wasn't a man used to caring about others. This was someone who'd built walls around himself and was now watching them crack because of her. Okay, she whispered. Temporarily. The relief in Dante's expression was profound. He pulled out his phone, made 3 calls in rapid Italian, organized her life with efficient precision. Emma should have felt overwhelmed. Instead, she felt cared for, valued, protected. As the Mercedes carried them through the city toward whatever came next, Emma realized something that should have terrified her but didn't. She was falling for the most dangerous man in the city. And he was falling right back. The Moretti estate existed in a world Emma didn't know was possible. They drove through iron gates that opened automatically, Up a winding drive lined with old-growth oaks, past a main house that looked like something from a European film. The guest house Dante mentioned sat another 100 yards back, surrounded by gardens that probably required a full-time staff. "This is temporary?" Emma asked as the car stopped in front of a structure that was larger than any place she'd ever lived. "It's secure." Dante exited first, opening her door before the driver could. "The main house is there if you need anything. My people patrol the grounds every hour. No one gets in without clearance." Emma stepped onto cobblestones, her worn sneakers feeling absurdly out of place. The evening had cooled further, and she shivered. Immediately, Dante shrugged out of his overcoat and draped it around her shoulders. It smelled like him, expensive cologne and something darker, more personal. "I'll have your things brought from your apartment tomorrow," Dante continued, producing a key. "Tonight, everything you need should be inside. I had my staff prepare it while we were at dinner." Of course he did. Emma followed him to the front door, watched him unlock it, watched him pause before entering. Checking, she realized. Even here, in his own fortress, he checked for threats. The interior was warm and inviting. Hardwood floors, comfortable furniture that looked lived in rather than sterile. A kitchen with modern appliances, windows overlooking the gardens. Emma turned slowly, taking it all in. "It's beautiful," she said softly. "It was my mother's favorite place." Dante's voice held unexpected emotion. She'd come here to escape the main house, to paint. She was an artist before she married my father. He gestured to the walls, and Emma noticed the paintings for the first time. Watercolors of the gardens, portraits of a young boy with familiar dark eyes. "She painted you?" "A lifetime ago. Before everything changed." Dante moved to the fireplace, pressed something hidden in the mantel. A panel slid open, revealing a modern security console. "This controls everything: lights, locks, alarms. If you press this red button, it alerts me directly. Doesn't matter where I am or what I'm doing. I'll come." Emma approached, studying the console. "You really think Victor will come after me?" "I think Victor saw an opportunity tonight, and men like him don't ignore opportunities." Dante's face was grim. "He's been trying to move into my territory for months, undermining my operations, spreading rumors, testing boundaries. Your appearance gives him leverage. Then maybe I shouldn't stay. Maybe I should just go back to my apartment and—" "No." The word came out sharp, almost violent. Dante visibly controlled himself. "No, you're safer here. I'll handle Victor. I always do." "How?" Dante's expression shuddered. "You don't want to know the answer to that." "Actually, I think I do." Emma moved closer to him. "If I'm going to be part of this, even temporarily, I need to understand what that means. How do you handle people like Victor?" For a long moment, Dante said nothing. Then he walked to the window, staring out at the darkened gardens. "There are rules in my world. Codes. You don't target families. You don't involve civilians. You settle disputes privately, through negotiation or other means. Victor broke those rules when his brother attacked one of my operations and killed 2 of my people. Good people with families." "So you killed him?" Emma's voice was steady. "I gave him choices. He chose violence. I responded in kind." Dante turned to face her. "Does that make you afraid of me now?" Emma considered the question honestly. She thought about Marcus's cruelty, about the casual way he'd destroyed her self-worth over years. She thought about Victor's threatening smile, about the way he'd looked at her like she was a tool to be used. Then she thought about Dante, about the way he'd protected her without hesitation, about the genuine pain in his eyes when he spoke of his choices. "No," she said finally. "It makes me understand you better. You do what you have to do to protect what's yours." "That's a generous interpretation." "It's an honest one." Emma crossed to him. "You're not a monster, Dante. Monsters don't build guest houses for waitresses. They don't keep their mother's paintings on the walls. They don't look haunted by their decisions." Dante's hand rose to cup her face again. that gesture she was beginning to recognize as his, careful, reverent, as if she might break. "You see things in me that aren't there. I see things you've buried." Emma leaned into his touch. "The question is, will you let me keep seeing them?" The air between them charged again, that electric feeling Emma was beginning to crave. Dante's thumb brushed her cheekbone, and Emma's breath hitched. She saw the moment he decided, saw desire and restraint war in his expression. "I should go," he said roughly. "Let you rest. It's been a long day. Stay." The word escaped before Emma could think better of it. "Just for a little while. I don't want to be alone yet." Dante's resolve visibly cracked. "Emma, I'm not asking for anything except company, please." He nodded slowly, allowing her to lead him to the couch. They sat, and Emma surprised herself by tucking against his side, his arm coming around her shoulders naturally. Through the window, security lights illuminated the gardens in soft gold. Somewhere in the distance, Emma heard footsteps. Patrol, she realized. Dante's people, keeping watch. "Tell me about your mother," Emma said quietly. "The artist." Dante was silent so long Emma thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "She was everything my father wasn't. Gentle, creative. She saw beauty everywhere. She never wanted him to join the family business, but he didn't have a choice. Neither did I." His fingers traced absent patterns on Emma's shoulder. "She died when I was 17. Heart attack, they said. But I think she just got tired. Tired of the violence, the secrets, the constant fear. She gave up. I'm sorry. Don't be. She's free now." "Free of all of this?" Dante's voice roughened. "I used to think I'd escape too, go to college, become something else. But then my father died, and suddenly I was responsible for 100 families who depended on us. I couldn't walk away." Emma tilted her head to look up at him. "Do you want to? Walk away?" Dante looked down at her, and Emma saw the truth in his eyes before he spoke. "I want to, but this is all I know. This is who I am." "No." Emma sat up fully, turning to face him. "This is what you do. Who you are is the man who drove across the city to find a woman he helped once. Who you are is someone who keeps his mother's paintings. Who you are is trying to protect me from consequences of your world instead of using me like Victor would." Dante pulled her closer, eliminating the space between them. "You're dangerous, Emma Martinez. More dangerous than any enemy I've faced." "Why?" "Because you make me want impossible things." His forehead rested against hers. "You make me want to be the man you think I am instead of the man I actually am. Maybe they're the same person." Emma's hands came up to his chest, feeling his heartbeat, rapid, intense. "Maybe you just need someone to remind you. And you're volunteering for that role? Reforming the monster? I don't want to reform you. I want to understand you. There's a difference." Dante's hand slid into her hair, cradling her head. "If I kiss you right now, there's no going back. You'll be mine, and I'll be yours. And in my world, that's a binding contract." Emma's pulse raced. She should say no. Should establish boundaries. Should protect herself from falling for someone whose life was built on danger. But she'd spent 5 years being careful, being safe, being small. Where had that gotten her? "Then kiss me," she whispered. Dante's control shattered. His mouth found hers with a hunger that stole her breath, with a tenderness that contradicted everything people said about him. Emma melted into the kiss, into him, her hands fisting in his shirt as if she could hold him there forever. Dante kissed her like she was oxygen, like she was salvation, like she was the only good thing in a dark world. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante pressed desperate kisses to her forehead, her cheeks, her jaw. "Mine," he murmured against her skin. "Say it. Say you're mine." "Yours," Emma agreed, and felt the truth of it settle into her bones. "But Dante, you're mine too. That's how this works." He pulled back to look at her, and Emma saw wonder in his expression. I've never been anyone's. Not like this. Well, you are now, so you'd better get used to it. Dante laughed. Actually laughed, the sound rusty but genuine. You're extraordinary, you know that? I'm ordinary. I'm just stubborn about the things I want. And you want me. His tone held disbelief. Apparently I have terrible judgment. Emma smiled to soften the words. But yes, I want you. All of you. Even the parts you think I can't handle. Dante kissed her again, slower this time, deeper. Emma lost herself in the sensation, in the feeling of being wanted so completely. When they finally separated, Dante rested his forehead against hers, breathing in sync. I need to tell you something, he said quietly. About Victor. About why he's so dangerous. Emma listened as Dante explained. About territorial disputes. About Victor's brother crossing lines. About the inevitable confrontation that ended with one man dead. About how Victor blamed Dante for everything. How he'd sworn revenge. How he'd been systematically dismantling Dante's empire from the outside in. He won't stop, Dante finished. Not until he destroys me. And now that he knows about you. He couldn't finish the sentence. So what do we do? We? Dante cupped her face. Emma, this isn't your fight. You made it my fight when you decided I was yours. Emma's jaw set stubbornly. Besides, I'm not going anywhere. So you might as well tell me the plan. Dante stared at her for a long moment. Then he smiled. That real smile that transformed his entire face. I'm going to negotiate. Offer him territory, compensation. Something to satisfy his need for revenge without blood. It's not ideal, but it keeps everyone alive. Hopefully. Dante stood, pulling Emma with him. But until this is resolved, you stay here. You don't leave the estate without my people. You don't trust anyone you don't know. Understood? Emma nodded, seeing the fear beneath his commanding tone. Understood. Good. He kissed her forehead. I should go. Let you sleep. Tomorrow will... A sharp sound cut through the night, glass breaking, distant but distinct. Dante's entire body went rigid. His hand shot to his jacket, emerging with a gun Emma hadn't known he was carrying. Stay here, he ordered, already moving toward the door. Lock it behind me. Don't open it for anyone but me. Dante. But he was gone, disappearing into the darkness. Emma rushed to the door, watched through the window as shadows moved across the gardens. More of Dante's people, converging on the main house. She heard shouting, more breaking glass. Emma locked the door with trembling hands, backed away from the window. Her phone. She needed her phone. But it was in her purse, which was still in the Mercedes, which was parked somewhere on the estate. She was alone, unarmed, listening to chaos outside. Minutes crawled by. Emma paced, her heart hammering. What was happening? Was Dante okay? Had Victor come here to Dante's own home? The security console caught her eye, the red button Dante had shown her. Press it, and he'd come. But he was already dealing with something. She couldn't distract him. More shouting. Then silence. Terrible, oppressive silence. Emma's hand hovered over the red button. Then she heard footsteps on the front walk. Heavy, purposeful. The doorknob rattled. Emma backed away, looking desperately for something to use as a weapon. Emma, it's me. Dante's voice, rough but unmistakable. Open the door. Emma fumbled with the locks, pulling the door open. Dante stood there, slightly disheveled, a thin line of blood on his cheek. But he was standing. He was okay. What happened? Emma demanded. Victor sent a message, literally. Dante stepped inside, locking the door behind him. He had someone throw a brick through my office window with a note attached. The girl or the Empire. You have 1 week to choose. Emma's blood ran cold. He wants you to give me up. That's not happening. Dante's tone brooked no argument. What's happening is I'm ending this. Tomorrow. I'm calling a meeting. Either Victor accepts my terms or what? Dante's expression went cold, lethal. Or I stop playing nice. Emma saw it then, the other side of Dante Moretti, the side that had built an empire on fear, the side that made men cross the street when they saw him coming. And instead of being afraid, Emma felt something else entirely. Protected. "Stay with me tonight," Emma said impulsively. Not for anything except I don't want to be alone. And I don't think you should be either." Dante looked at her like she'd offered him the world. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." They settled back on the couch, Emma tucked against Dante's side, his arms wrapped around her like shields. Through the window, Emma watched security lights scan the gardens, watched Dante's people patrol the grounds. "Thank you," Dante murmured into her hair, "for not running, for being brave enough to stay. Thank you for giving me something worth staying for." They stayed like that until dawn began to lighten the sky, until Emma finally drifted into exhausted sleep. Dante remained awake, watching over her, making silent promises to himself about the conversation he'd have with Victor tomorrow. Emma Martinez had walked into his life and changed everything, and Dante Moretti would burn his entire empire to the ground before he let anyone hurt her. That was the moment he realized the truth. He wasn't just protecting her anymore. He was in love with her. The week passed in a blur of tension. Dante left early each morning, returning late with darker circles under his eyes. Emma watched him wage war from the shadows, phone calls in Italian, meetings with stone-faced men, negotiations that left him exhausted. Victor's deadline loomed like a guillotine. On the 6th day, Emma woke to silence. Too much silence. She found Dante's side of the bed cold, his jacket gone. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Warehouse on 5th Street. Come alone if you want to see him alive." V. Her blood turned to ice. Emma's hands shook as she dressed, her mind racing. She should call someone, Dante's men, the police, anyone. But Victor had made it clear, come alone. Any deviation, and Dante died. The warehouse was exactly where Victor said it would be. Abandoned, windows dark. The kind of place where terrible things happened unseen. Emma's sneakers crunched on broken glass as she approached. The door hung open like a mouth. Inside, the space stretched vast and empty, except for 2 figures in the center. Dante knelt on the concrete, hands bound behind him, blood trickling from his temple. Victor stood behind him, gun pressed to Dante's skull, smiling. "Emma Martinez. Punctual. I appreciate that in a woman." Victor's voice echoed. "Did you come to save your monster? Let him go." Emma's voice shook but held. "This is between you two. I'm nobody." "Nobody?" Victor laughed. "You're everything. Don't you see? The great Dante Moretti, who never bends, who never breaks. He's on his knees because of you. That's power I can use." Dante's eyes met Emma's, fierce and desperate. "Run," he mouthed. Emma stayed rooted. "What do you want?" "I want him to suffer like I suffered. I want him to lose everything like I lost my brother. And you—" Victor pressed the gun harder against Dante's head. "You're the key. Tell me, Moretti, what's it worth? Her life for your empire? Everything." Dante's voice cracked. "Take it all. Territory, businesses, money. Just let her go." "See?" Victor addressed Emma. "He'd give up his entire world for you. Touching, really. But here's the thing. I don't want his empire. I want his soul destroyed." His finger moved to the trigger. "Say goodbye." "Wait!" Emma's scream echoed. "Wait, there's another way." Victor paused, intrigued. "I'm listening." Emma's mind raced, remembering fragments of conversations, details Dante had mentioned. "Your brother. Dante said he gave him choices, that he attacked first. But what if that's not the whole story? What if someone else orchestrated it? Someone who wanted you and Dante destroying each other?" Cute theory. But Victor's grip loosened slightly. "The Castellanos," Emma continued, the name surfacing from memory. "Dante mentioned them once. Said they'd been trying to start a war between families. What if they fed your brother false information? What if they made him think Dante killed your father?" Victor's face changed. Surprise, then calculation. How do you know about my father? I don't, but I know manipulation when I see it. Emma took a careful step closer. I watched my ex-husband twist reality for years, make me doubt myself. You're smarter than this, Victor. Don't let someone else write your revenge. The warehouse fell silent. Victor's hand trembled slightly. Then, even if you're right and you're not, Moretti still gave the order. My brother still died. After your brother killed 2 of his people, Emma said quietly. You know the rules. You said so yourself at the restaurant. This is about honor, not murder. Victor's jaw worked. The gun lowered an inch, 2 inches. You're clever. I see why he keeps you. He looked at Dante. Is she right? About the Castellanos? Dante's eyes blazed. I've had suspicions. No proof. But yes, they benefit most from our war. Victor was silent for a long moment. Then he laughed, bitter, exhausted. We're all puppets, aren't we? He lowered the gun completely, cut Dante's bonds with a knife. This isn't over, Moretti. But today, I choose to think instead of act. Your girl bought you time. Victor and his men left. The warehouse door slammed. Emma ran to Dante, who caught her in arms that shook. You came for me, he whispered against her hair. You brilliant, terrifying woman. You came for me. Always, Emma promised. Always. But as they left the warehouse, neither noticed the figure watching from across the street. Someone with a phone, taking pictures, reporting back to a third party. The war was far from over. It had only just begun. The next morning, Dante called a meeting. Not at his office or a restaurant, but at the warehouse where everything had nearly ended. Emma stood beside him, not beside, as Victor arrived with his people, as the Castellano representatives appeared looking smug and confident. Gentlemen, Dante's voice cut through the tension. We're here to discuss the truth. Marcus Castellano, patriarch of the rival family, smiled. What truth would that be, Moretti? That you're losing control? That you've been playing us all? Dante produced a folder, thick, damning. 6 months of communication between your people and Victor's brother. Instructions on when to attack my operations. Promises of territory if he succeeded. You armed him, pointed him at me, and watched. Victor snatched the folder, his face darkening as he read. You told him my father wanted this, that it was his dying wish to destroy the Morettis. Business strategy. Marcus shrugged. Nothing personal. Nothing personal? Victor's voice went deadly quiet. You used my grief. My brother's death is on your hands as much as Moretti's. Emma watched the dynamic shift, watched 2 enemies recognize their common manipulator. Dante caught her eye, and she saw the plan forming. Here's what happens now, Dante said. The Castellanos exit the city, completely. You have 48 hours. Refuse, and Victor and I become allies instead of enemies. Together, we control everything. You get nothing. Marcus laughed, but it sounded nervous. You expect me to believe you 2 will work together? After everything? Watch us. Victor stepped beside Dante, the gesture symbolic and powerful. Your games end today. The Castellano representatives shifted uncomfortably. Marcus's confidence cracked. You can't force us out. We have rights. You have 48 hours, Dante repeated, or we force you. The meeting ended with threats and promises. As everyone dispersed, Emma felt the weight lift slightly. But that night, as she and Dante returned to the estate, exhaustion crashed over them both. It's not over, Dante said quietly, pouring drinks in the guest house. Marcus will retaliate. Men like him always do. Then we'll handle it. Emma took the glass he offered. Together. Dante set down his drink, pulled Emma close. I need to tell you something. When Victor had that gun to my head, all I could think was that I'd never told you. He cupped her face. I love you, Emma. I'm in love with you. Completely. Terrifyingly. Emma's breath caught. Dante, I know it's fast. I know it's insane. but nothing about us has been normal. And I'm done pretending I can protect my heart from you. You own it already." Tears blurred Emma's vision. "I love you too. God help me, I love you." They kissed with desperation and relief, with the knowledge that they'd survived something that should have destroyed them. Dante lifted Emma, carried her to the bedroom, loved her with a tenderness that contradicted everything the world believed about him. Later, tangled in sheets, Emma traced patterns on Dante's chest. "What happens now? After the Castellanos leave? I rebuild. Differently this time." Dante's fingers combed through her hair. "I'm tired, Emma. Tired of violence, of constant war. Maybe it's time to step back. Let someone else run things." "You'd do that? For you, I'd do anything." He kissed her forehead. "I want a life with you. A real life. Not this half-existence in the shadows." Emma's heart swelled. "Then let's build it. Together." But at 3 a.m, Emma's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Just a photo. Marcus Castellano in what looked like a private jet, smiling at the camera. The caption read, "48 hours, Moretti. Then I come for everything you love." Emma stared at the message, ice flooding her veins. She looked at Dante, sleeping peacefully beside her, finally at rest after weeks of stress. She couldn't show him this. Not yet. Not when he was finally finding peace. Emma deleted the message and made a decision. Tomorrow she would handle this herself. Emma waited until Dante left for a meeting with Victor, planning the transition of power, establishing new territories. Before she acted, she found Marcus Castellanos' number in Dante's office, called from a burner phone she'd bought in secret. "I want to make a deal," she said when he answered. "You leave Dante alone, and I'll give you information. Access to his operations, whatever you need." Marcus's laugh was oily. The little girlfriend betraying her monster? How delicious. "Meet me at the old pier in an hour. Come alone, or the deal is off." Emma knew it was a trap, but she also knew Dante would never stop protecting her if it meant war. So she went anyway, leaving a note in the guest house just in case. "If I don't come back, know that I loved you enough to try. E." The pier was deserted, fog rolling off the water. Marcus stood at the end with 2 bodyguards, his smile predatory. "Emma Martinez. Brave or stupid, I haven't decided which." "The deal," Emma said, voice steady despite her terror. "What do you want?" "Everything." Marcus stepped closer. "Moretti's accounts, his contacts, his weaknesses. You give me that, and I let him live. You have my word." "Your word means nothing." The voice came from behind Emma, Dante, emerging from the fog with Victor beside him and a dozen armed men. "Did you really think I wouldn't know? That I wouldn't follow her?" Emma's relief was overwhelming. Dante had found her note. He'd come. Marcus's face drained of color. "This isn't— You can't." "I can." Dante moved between Marcus and Emma, his presence lethal. "You threatened her. Big mistake." He glanced at Victor. "Your call." Victor stepped forward, his expression cold. "You used my brother's memory. Made me into a puppet. For that alone, you deserve what's coming." He nodded to his men. "The Castellanos are done. Escort them to their jet. Make sure they understand. They never return." Marcus was dragged away, protesting, threatening, ultimately helpless. When the pier cleared, Dante turned to Emma. "You were going to sacrifice yourself for me. I was going to protect you. By walking into a trap alone?" Dante's hands shook as he gripped her shoulders. "Emma, you could have died. You could have—" His voice broke. "But I didn't, because you came for me. Just like I came for you." Emma touched his face. "We protect each other. That's how this works." Dante pulled her into his arms, buried his face in her hair. "I can't lose you, I can't. You're everything. Then don't lose me. Choose me." "Choose this." Emma pulled back to look at him. "Walk away from all of it. Be with me. Really be with me." Dante stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned to Victor. "It's yours. All of it. Territory, operations, everything. I'm out. Victor's eyebrows rose. You're serious? Completely. Dante looked only at Emma. I'm choosing her. I'm choosing us. 6 months later, Emma stood in a small chapel wearing a simple white dress, Dante beside her in a suit that made him look less like a crime lord and more like a man in love. The ceremony was intimate, just Victor as witness and a handful of people they trusted. I never thought I'd have this, Dante whispered as they exchanged rings. Never thought I deserved it. You deserve everything, Emma promised, and I'm going to spend our lives proving it. They left the city that night, drove to a small coastal town where no one knew their names or their history. Dante had purchased a house overlooking the ocean, modest, quiet, perfect. He taught Emma to cook Italian recipes his mother had loved. She convinced him to paint again, filling canvases with color instead of darkness. One evening, as they walked the beach at sunset, Emma squeezed Dante's hand. Do you miss it? The power? The empire? Dante stopped, pulled her close. I miss nothing. You gave me something better than power. You gave me peace. You gave me a reason to be better than I was. He kissed her forehead. I love you, Emma Moretti. I love you too. Emma smiled. My reformed monster. Not reformed. Dante's eyes glinted with familiar intensity. Just focused. I'd still destroy anyone who tried to hurt you. I know. Emma kissed him. That's why I love you. Behind them, the sun set on their old lives. Ahead, the future stretched bright and unwritten. Together they walked toward it, the mafia boss who'd given up everything for love, and the waitress who'd taught him what love really meant.